Changing patterns of behavior in dementia patients. Did you ever think to yourself, I wonder if I could replace the bad patterns of behavior that are driving me crazy with new positive patterns of behavior? I did. I wonder if Alzheimer's caregivers think about patterns of behavior when it comes to caring for someone living with Alzheimer's disease or related dementia. Many patients evidence patterns of behavior that drive Alzheimer's caregivers nuts or worse. Patterns. All Alzheimer's patients evidence patterns of behavior. Some of the patterns are simple, like asking over and over, what day is it? Others are more complex. One reader told us her husband was shaving 4 times a day and his face was getting raw. Other patients pace. The list goes on and on. My mother was evidencing all kinds of patterns of behavior, doing the same crazy things at the same time of day or night over and over. At approximately 9:37 p.m. at night, my mother would get up and announce that she needed to start cleaning the house. I'm talking every night. Imagine trying to explain to someone living with Alzheimer's that it is nighttime and you don't clean at bedtime. I'm not sure how many times I did this, more than I want to remember. It didn't work. Explaining doesn't work. My mother would wake up at 1:29 in the morning and 4:29 in the morning. Each and every time I would get up out of bed, stand back and watch her do it. I did not intervene because I had learned that was not helpful and would only make things worse. After a year or so, I finally started to understand why she was doing this. After a year or so of reading research about Alzheimer's disease and dementia, I came to a conclusion. Exercise was important, an important variable in caring for someone with Alzheimer's. So what I did was enroll my mother in a gym class for the first time when she was 87 years old. At first, I put her in a seniors class. It's called Silver Sneakers. That helped. One day, I decided to put her on the treadmill. She resisted, but she did it. Then something started to happen that changed our lives. My mother would start walking on the treadmill, and at the 6-minute, 30-second mark, she would bend over like she was going to fall. However, her feet kept moving, so I just let her go. At the 7-minute mark, she would stand back up straight and start walking. This happened every single time. It amazed me. But there was a clearly defined pattern. Patterns of behavior. I came to a conclusion through observing patterns that most Alzheimer's patients have patterns, and some of these patterns are good and some are bad. I also realized, secondly, that most people without Alzheimer's have patterns of behavior. In other words, we do the same things around the same time of day over and over. Patterns of behavior bring homeostasis into our lives. Having well-defined patterns of behavior brings comfort, organization, and a sense of stability into our lives. The fact that we live a life of patterns also helps explain why most of us don't like change and why we resist change. I thought to myself, what if I could change my mother's bad patterns of behavior and channel her energy in something more positive? Change the bad patterns into something good. I decided to introduce an entirely new set of behaviors and actions into our lives. Over time, I introduced one new behavior after another until we reached the point where our days were organized in a way that made each day very similar to the one that became before it. Our day had a very well-defined pattern, and so did our daily actions and activities. In other words, we got into a routine, just like you're in a routine in your life and I get into routines in my life. Here's an example of how it worked. Instead of waiting for my mother to ask me what day is it, meaning what day of the week, I put the newspaper in front of her each morning and asked her, what day is it? Then what is today's date? She would read this to me from the top of the newspaper. I also bought a big clock and put it on a wall right in front of where she sat and where she couldn't miss it. I asked her, what time is it? I did this 2 or 3 times a day. It cured her repetitive behavior of asking me all the time what day it was. I was giving her a sense of day and time. Over the years, I cured my mother of meanness, getting up in the middle of the night, urinary incontinence, and the dreaded bowel movement problem. I did this by introducing new patterns of behavior and new tools into our daily equation. Did it work perfectly? No, but it does work, and it will work for you. I wrote previously about many issues that caregivers and those working in dementia care face each day. We have over 5,000 articles that address these issues and provide effective solutions. I've included some links below this podcast on the Alzheimer's Reading Room to information that I think will help you solve problems. It is important to develop the proper mindset when caring for someone living with dementia. My name is Bob DeMarco. I'm the founder of the Alzheimer's Reading Room. My mother, Dorothy, lived with Alzheimer's disease. We lived our life one day at a time. You can learn more about Alzheimer's and dementia at the alzheimersreadingroom.com. Thanks for listening.